We can change you, Connor.
His name is Gideon Shepherd.
I'm sorry. Nothing, sorry, nothing. Deja vu.
Lucy Chambers wakes in the sterile glare of an interrogation room, sporting a bruised eye and a split lip, as Gideon, a convicted killer turned tormentor, circles her like a shark. His voice drips with unsettling calm as he tells her he understands her profound sense of detachment, that her own life feels like someone else's story. He speaks of a recurring nightmare she's never actually had, in which she jolts awake each night to the echo of a gunshot. Suddenly, we cut to Lucy in her own bed at exactly 3:33 a.m. She gasps awake, drenched in sweat, and the soundscape of her subconscious terror still pulses in her ears. Later that same sleepless night, Lucy finds herself in the kitchen, bleary-eyed and haunted by fragments of a dream she can't quite grasp. Her son Isaac stands there, eyes wide as saucers, parroting the very words she muttered in her sleep. Over the years, this duo of midnight wanderings has recurred every few months, an involuntary pilgrimage through the dark corridors of Lucy's fractured psyche. At her husband's insistence, Lucy has been seeing Dr. Bennett, who attributes Isaac's own nocturnal escapades, the mysterious Meredith, Alejandro, and others Isaac claims visit him, to the trauma of her marital separation. Meanwhile, Lucy herself reports spectral disturbances, a vase of flowers drifting as if caught in an unseen breeze, shadows lengthening where none should be. Lucy's daytime world finds her donning the mantle of social worker, guiding families scarred by abuse toward fractured hope. On one such visit, to a man named Shane, Lucy is again assaulted by vivid flashbacks, images of a child in distress cutting through her professional detachment. Simultaneously, Detective Ravi Dillon is summoned to a gruesome crime scene. Harold Slade, a well-liked local in his early 50s, has been stabbed 3 times in his unlocked home. No weapon is found, only the echo of violence and the surreal impression of fireworks heard at odd hours. Ravi, a man with a deep-seated fear of death, dusts for prints, notes the open door, and regards the scene with equal parts fascination and revulsion. As Lucy recounts her night terrors to Dr. Bennett, she confesses a lifetime pattern. Every night at precisely 3:33 a.m., she is yanked from sleep, haunted by dreams she never recalls. Bennett notes the folklore, this devil's hour. But Lucy shies away from deep disclosure, her fear of her own mind palpable. Meanwhile, Isaac's school life unravels. Accused of urinating in a classmate's bag, he claims he forgot where the restroom was, a flimsy alibi that hints at darker motivations. His behavior unsettles Lucy. He begins silently stalking her bedroom at night, watching her sleep with an intensity that chills her maternal instincts. When she finally confronts him, "Who's that man?" he whispers. The emptiness beside her bed offers no comfort. Back in the official investigation, Ravi follows a slender lead. Gerald Bell, a neighbor, recalls a red Nissan Vanette parked outside Slade's house for weeks. It's an uncommon model, and Ravi, methodical, catalogs every Vanette in the county, eventually tracing the one in question along the M3. Inside the van, they discover keys to a local hotel, proof that the killer has been surveilling Slade's routine. As Ravi and his partner Nick head to the Brightside Lodge under cover of darkness, they find the rented unit padlocked. Its interior plastered floor to ceiling with newspaper clippings. One headline, scrawled in ominous red ink, reads, 4th October, 11 p.m., Millfield Close Murders, accompanied by a familiar house. Lucy's former case. Unnerving echoes of Lucy's world begin to overlap with Ravi's. A blue police cruiser's flashing lights splice into Lucy's flashback, revealing the tragic death of Shane. Though Lucy believed she'd seen Tilly's corpse, in truth Shane's impaled body awaited discovery. Gideon's voice returns, triumphant. He was in that crowd, he saw it all, and now he holds the key to Lucy's unraveling sanity. He demands she lie to her colleagues and deny his knowledge of her, or else risk being labeled insane. 1 week after Shane's death, Mike, Lucy's steadfast partner, expresses mounting concern for her. Their love, tethered by shared loss and daily danger, feels both refuge and burden. Lucy admits she thinks of someone else during intimacy, a confession that rattles Mike and underscores Isaac's silent withdrawal. At that moment, Isaac appears in the doorway, uncharacteristically emotional. "There's someone in the garden," he says without inflection. Lucy's heart pounds. She investigates only to find the gate ajar, an invitation or a warning. Meanwhile, Ravi's investigation unearths boxes of abandoned evidence from the Brightside lodges. Among the scattered files, the name Hobson emerges, Jonah Taylor's childhood teddy bear, a cryptic clue linking Lucy's professional past to her present terror. When Ravi runs Lucy Chambers' name, he discovers the red Nissan has circled multiple properties owned by women of the same name, narrowing down the killer's obsession to one, Lucy herself. His empathy shines in small gestures. He tips a homeless man 10 pounds without a second thought, a testament to his unvarnished humanity amidst the grotesque. At Dr. Bennett's office again, Isaac's emotional void becomes the focus. When asked what makes his mother sad, he replies simply, "I did," his young voice imbued with more sorrow than his years should allow. And when he's asked to describe the man he sees, he points to a shifting silhouette in the room's corner. Lucy watches, helpless, as her own hallucinations and her son's visions converge into a shared nightmare. As 3:33 a.m. strikes once more, Lucy descends into her home's dining room, driven by a sense that the walls themselves hold the key. She raps gently on the nearest door, offering wine to new neighbors, only to learn they abstain from alcohol. Inside, her vision distortions intensify. Debbie's face appears burned. Meredith's toy mirrors the peculiar topper Isaac has collected for months. The real Meredith, Lucy realizes, is the small child she almost struck while driving, a potential witness to Isaac's spectral playmates. On the phone, Gideon assures her that she's not insane, that her clarity of mind is her strongest weapon. Lucy's ordeal reaches a breaking point at Isaac's school. Bullied into slapping himself in front of peers, he endures laughter that cuts deeper than any blade. Lucy's calls to the school launch her into frantic explanations. Something is broken inside him, she tells the head teacher, her maternal anguish laid bare. With every new horror, Ravi edges closer. He finds that the red Nissan's trajectory, the anonymous hotel bookings, and the scrawled threats all intersect at Lucy's life. Returning home one evening, Lucy nearly collapses when she finds the front door ajar, until Mike emerges from the shadows with news that shatters her dwindling composure. He's been seeing someone else, he admits, hoping to make it official. The confession hits Lucy like a bullet. Betrayal and despair war within her, and in that instant, she blurts out the truth. During their lovemaking, she pictures no one at all. As Mike confesses he entered through the front door, Lucy bolts back inside, senses honed to paranoia. In her final, breathless realization, she understands the truth Gideon has teased all along. The killer's target is not her, but Isaac. And as the house falls silent, she finds the crib empty, the night swallowing her son, and with him, the last fragment of her shattered peace. Lucy's heart races as the camera cuts to a bright montage of the Warren family's cozy living room. Sunlight dances across the walls, laughter echoes, and everything seems perfect, until the music snaps off, the colors drain out, and we realize this isn't the Warrens' home at all. It's Lucy's house. She bursts through her front door, breath ragged, calling Isaac's name. The silence answers back. He's gone. Inside a grim interrogation room, Detective Gideon shifts uncomfortably under the harsh lights. Lucy sits across from him, voice wavering. Gideon admits he never touched Isaac, never caused him harm. He only saw Lucy standing alone, dazed in the middle of the street. Her hands tremble. She's on the brink of panic when a buzzer on the table buzzes, jolting her back to reality. A guard ushers her outside, where Detective Ravi waits with concern in his eyes and fresh bruises marking his face. He's been through worse. His right eye is swollen shut. "I'm not letting you face this alone," Ravi says quietly. Lucy's shoulders sag. She thanks him, voice small. "I'm glad you're on this, Ravi," she whispers. Ravi shakes his head, trying to smile through the pain. "Anyone on this case would try as hard as I have." We flash back to the start of the investigation. Ravi takes charge, his determination clear in every line of his face. He spreads out a worn notebook on Lucy's dining table, the one found abandoned at the lodge. Inside, they find a scribbled picture of Isaac's watch, half buried in the pages. The watch itself lies silent, stopped at 3:10. Scrawled across its face in looping letters, Isaac is unbound. Lucy leans forward, fingers brushing the faded ink. As she does, she feels a cold handprint form on the glass of the picture frame, then vanish. Her breath hitches. At Lucy's childhood home, now a care facility, her mother Sylvia sits in a sunlit lounge. She rattles off answers to a quiz show question, though no TV is on. Her carer flips a switch, and the question blares from the screen. Sylvia's answer, word for word, matches her earlier words. Lucy watches, unsettled. How does her mother know the questions before they air? Back in Ravi's office, he and fellow detective Nick pore over the notebook's chaotic scrawl. Hidden between the lines, they spot a map, a winding trail leading deep into the woods. Their hearts sink when they follow it. A blood-chilling sight awaits. A dead dog, perfectly preserved, stuffed into a grimy fridge. All around it lie discarded ovens, washing machines, tumble dryers, a white goods graveyard in the forest's heart. Lucy arrives at Dr. Bennett's office with wide, haunted eyes. She's on autopilot, moving through each day with Isaac's absence gnawing at her. Dr. Bennett, patient and calm, tells Lucy that feeling powerless is the worst pain of all. Maybe that's why Lucy clings to Harold Slade's name, the man she saw in a news clipping days ago. She's desperate to do something, anything to bring her son home. Later that night, Lucy's home becomes a place of terror. In the attic, she glimpses a shadowy figure by the wall. Footsteps thump above her head. Downstairs, she hears distant laughter, like children playing. She staggers back, heart pounding, and slams Isaac's bedroom door shut. On his neatly made bed, she collapses, sobbing. When she looks up, there's Meredith, Lucy's aunt, smiling softly at her from the corner. Meredith says nothing, just watches. Next morning, Lucy stumbles out to a petrol station and lights a cigarette, her hands shaking. She unfolds the business card Ravi gave her and calls the number written on it. Ravi's voice, ragged from lack of sleep and his injuries, answers almost before she speaks. When she tells him she's standing in front of a violin hanging over Harold Slade's staircase, something she could never have known, he goes silent. She'd only seen that house in my dreams, Lucy whispers. Ravi's voice trembles with disbelief. I'll meet you there. The next day, Lucy drives to Harold Slade's rambling estate alone. She knocks on the heavy oak door and asks to use the bathroom. Once inside, she slips away and finds a hidden staircase leading to a dusty study. The bloodstain still mars the welcome mat. On a side table sits a safe, its dial pristine. Lucy turns it, fingers moving on memory. 1812. The door pops open. Inside, a dusty land deed and an ancient iron key gleam in the low light. Her chest tightens. She bolts back outside, phone already in hand, and rattles off the address from the deed. Turnpike House, Paintmore Lane, North Tamford. She snaps a picture and sends it to Ravi. On the sketches Ravi holds, the word Turnpike is scrawled in the margin. Another piece clicked into place. But Lucy's phone buzzes again. A nurse texts, "Your mother is missing." Sylvia, in her wanderings, has come across two girls chatting at the park. One girl's face reminds her of Lucy. Sylvia approaches them, chattering about ghosts and kindness. The girls don't know what she means. Frightened, Sylvia shuffles away, confused. Lucy picks her mother up and drives toward Turnpike House, half expecting to find nothing. Instead, she sees Ravi's battered car and Nick's unflinching gaze. They explore the peeling hallway together. In the kitchen, Ravi points out an open bottle of Florane, an anesthetic agent. The cupboards creak. In a cupboard above, they spot a child's watch face. Isaac's watch, its hands still frozen. Lucy shivers, stepping back as Ravi moves a tall shelf. A hidden green door skids open, revealing a narrow stair down. Lucy pulls the old key from her pocket and unlocks the hatch. The basement smells damp and rotten. Inside, an eerie collection. A vintage camera, tiny outfits stained with ink. a child's dollhouse where the furniture is sprawled across the floor like discarded toys. It's enough to steal Lucy's breath away. "Go get Nick," Ravi says, urgency sharp in his voice. Lucy nods, tears in her eyes. Meanwhile, Sylvia, wandering through the woods, stumbles on a clearing. And there, curled under a fallen oak, is Isaac. He looks up, confused and frightened. "I'm not supposed to be here," he whispers. Sylvia kneels beside him and offers her hand. "Come on, darling." He takes it, and she leads him back toward the house. He's quiet, tears tracing clean lines down his cheeks. Lucy scoops him up in a fierce hug as they reach the front porch. Isaac buries his face in her shoulder, trembling. It's the first time he's spoken since he vanished. "I was lost." Back in the interrogation room, Lucy and Ravi stand across from Gideon again. Lucy's gaze is calm now, firm. Gideon confesses he was investigating Isaac's room, searching for evidence to confirm something, anything. He found Isaac's watch. Before he could call anyone, the child disappeared. He heard the glass shatter downstairs but saw no one take Isaac. Gideon's voice cracks as he suggests, maybe he slipped into another reality. Lucy's eyes brim with tears, not of fear but relief. She squeezes Ravi's hand. He gives hers a gentle squeeze back. Cut to the Warren family home. Bright, welcoming, and seemingly perfect once more. Meredith stands at the window, face drawn tight in shock. Inside her room, Isaac stands by the far wall, hand pressed against the window pane. The bright afternoon light silhouettes his small frame. Meredith's voice trembles. He's not supposed to be here. Isaac turns, his face calm now, and looks back at her. For a moment, everything is still. Ravi, Dylan, and Nick arrive at the interrogation room, determined to learn what Isaac Shepard experienced. Isaac, disoriented, recalls that he was escorted from the previous room by a man. Not Gideon Shepard as they'd assumed, but Mr. Warren himself. A black car waited outside, driven by an officer who reassured him that all would be well. The officer's face, Isaac realizes with dawning shock, belonged to Ravi. Back in the interrogation room, Gideon, Isaac's older brother with an uncanny grasp on time and reality, observes the detective's confusion. He calmly predicts Ravi's next question before Ravi can utter it, then shifts the subject to an 18-year-old named Aiden Stenner. At that moment, Isaac's mother, Kate, interrupts with fury. She's spotted Lucy Chambers outside, snapping clandestine photographs of their home. But Lucy, a young detective newly entangled in this case, moves with an instinctive force beyond her own understanding. She seizes Kate's camera-wielding arm firmly, silences her protest, and even manages to stun a nearby officer. Moments later, Lucy releases Kate, bewildered by her own strength. Meanwhile, Gideon's narrative shifts like the currents of a time stream. He describes sitting alone on a park bench, brewing a simple mixture of sugar water for a dying bee. He explains how repairing small cruelties, like feeding a wounded insect, makes him feel whole. Yet that compassion stands in stark contrast to his confession that 2 weeks earlier he ran over a dog and reversed his car to complete the killing. The woman beside him flees in terror. Ravi, trying to piece together Lucy's involvement, travels to her apartment later that night. He questions her about the Slade case, a series of murders in which details seem to blur and repeat across realities. To Ravi's surprise, instead of recoiling, Lucy admits she's haunted by memories that feel as if they came from someone else. Memories of events that, in this timeline, haven't yet occurred. Dr. Bennett, the case psychiatrist, had dismissed Lucy's claims as fanciful. But Ravi, pragmatic and driven, listens closely. He finds inconsistencies in Lucy's recollections. Girls pulled from water at a riverside. Victims who vanish before any official report. An undeniable chemistry sparks between Ravi and Lucy as they sift through contradictory evidence. Before parting, Lucy confesses her unease about Aiden Stenner's case, the nagging sense that something fundamental is off. Meanwhile, Isaac drifts in and out of reality, as if caught between two worlds. At one moment, he sees the Warren family gathered solemnly around a dining table, smiles locked in place, and the next, the room dissolves into cold emptiness. The following day, Isaac meets with Dr. Bennett. His broken watch becomes a metaphor for his fractured sense of time. He reveals he'd retreated alone to the Warrens' house for days, feeling an unnatural chill in the air. Gideon's warnings echo in his mind. Reality is malleable. That same afternoon, Nick Adams stakes out Aiden's house, hoping to anticipate any threats. He witnesses an assault unfolding inside, a brutal machete-wielding attack, and rushes in to intervene. Armed only with intuition, he's quickly overwhelmed by the number of assailants. Ravi arrives just in time, and together they subdue the attackers, securing arrests. The violence draws scrutiny, and the pair face an internal investigation for excessive force. But with corroborating witness statements, they avoid disciplinary action. That night, Lucy is awoken at precisely 3:33 a.m., as though the hour itself summons her. She finds Isaac in his room, striking his head repeatedly against the headboard, trapped in another horrific dream. The next afternoon, Mike Warren, Isaac's foster guardian, attempts to cook for him. The gesture, meant to be nurturing, ends awkwardly. Mike impatiently slams a plate onto the table, sauce splattering across Isaac's shirt. Isaac, drained of emotion, barely reacts. Lucy, determined to protect Aiden at any cost, pursues a lead to Speed King's go-karts after hours. She finds Aiden and several local teens loitering in the dimly lit complex. Lucy warns them to leave and even offers $200 each for their compliance. Just as she begins to worry for Aiden's safety, a suspicious car rolls slowly into the lot, hesitates, then drives away. Lucy realizes the threat has moved on, and that, in this version of events, she saved Aiden's life. Back in interrogation, Gideon reminds Ravi that all events are connected across timelines. Lucy's memories, Ravi's investigations, Isaac's unraveling psyche. Gideon cryptically hints at a storm and a chaos that neither he nor Isaac caused, but that Ravi and Lucy unleashed by meddling with fate. As night falls, Ravi and Nick divide to track the vehicle that menaced Aiden. Ravi's phone connection with Nick cuts out. He drives down a deserted road to see the car halted in his path. The driver steps out. Gideon, the very man accused of inheriting his brother's madness, stands before him. Gideon quietly warns Ravi that, in previous iterations of reality, Ravi never challenged him here, and Ravi never walked away alive. He confesses that by sparing Aiden, someone else's death became inevitable. Meanwhile, Lucy tumbles from one dream to the next. She nearly strikes a woman crossing the road, someone who looks like Meredith Warren, Isaac's foster sister, only to realize it's not her. She retreats to the Warren household in fear, where Meredith is safe and alive. That night, Ravi arrives at Lucy's door, shattered by grief. His partner, Officer Bella Adams, Nick's wife, has been found murdered. In a grotesque echo of the previous attack, her blood soaks the crime scene. Lucy realizes that when Aiden should have died, he did not, and the ripple effect claimed Bella's life instead. Isaac, teetering on the edge of collapse, visits Dr. Sylvia Reed. She introduces him to a circular pin, a trinket said to anchor the wearer to reality. Isaac clutches it with fervor. In therapy, his anger briefly flares, a sign that he's still tethered to a world that frequently slips from his grasp. Lucy delves into Gideon Shepard's profile. Compelled by a name that surfaced in her visions, she uncovers a decades-old case. Gideon Shepard, a 14-year-old who stabbed his father in 1967 and vanished. With feverish determination, Lucy contacts Gideon's brother, Malcolm. Malcolm confirms that Gideon owned a red Nissan and shares a voice message recorded at 1:23 a.m., the distant whistle of a train echoing behind him. Armed with this timestamp and vehicle data, Lucy pinpoints the abandoned repair yard near Melwood as Gideon's likely hideout. Despite procedures dictating she report through official channels, Lucy sets out immediately, alone. Ravi, still reeling from Bella's death, debates intervening. In a moment of mutual resolve, Lucy and Ravi meet and share a long, searching kiss, the lines between professional duty and personal need dissolving. They arrive at the graffiti-streaked gates of the repair yard in twilight. Broken glass crunches underfoot. Inside, in a single cavernous room plastered with photographs and newspaper clippings, they discover Connor tied to a chair, a bucket of decaying flesh at his side, and a flickering television playing a looped horror. Ravi moves to free Connor, urging him to run. But as they reach the exit, a rifle shot rings out. Connor collapses, lifeless. Gideon appears at a shattered window, his expression unreadable. Ravi lunges at him, but Gideon brushes aside each blow effortlessly, whispering apologies between strikes. He claims familiarity with this confrontation. He's fought Ravi before and will again, always victorious. Just as Gideon prepares to deliver the final blow, Lucy's car smashes through the yard gate and crashes into Gideon's vehicle. The impact sends both detectives tumbling to safety and knocks Gideon unconscious. Lucy scrambles out, battered but unbowed, and calls for an ambulance. Days later, back at the Warren home, Isaac laughs for the first time in weeks, a genuine sound that surprises everyone present. The tension shatters when Mike arrives with a steaming casserole. The moment feels ephemeral, as though peace itself might slip away once more. Ravi calls Lucy, voice raw with emotion, to report that Gideon has been detained. The man refuses all questioning, all except by Lucy herself. At last, the tangled threads align. Gideon's references to the chaos were about Aiden's life, the countless lost futures, the deaths set in motion by one small act of mercy. And the final puzzle piece. Gideon admits he stabbed his father because his father had murdered him first in another version of events. Lucy and Ravi exchange a look of stunned realization. In trying to save others, they've become architects of tragedy. Gideon has died more times than he can count. Each time he dies, he somehow returns. He's caught in a strange loop where life plays over and over again, like a broken record skipping, and he knows he can change the tune. He's discovered he can step out of the usual rules of fate. Gideon can make things happen differently, even if no one else notices. His early life was full of pain. His father was abusive, often slapping his hands with a belt. Eventually, his father lost their fortune and disappeared, leaving Gideon and his brother Malcolm behind. But their father's absence bound them together, making them rely on each other. When their father returned, he drove them to a cliff and forced them to pray for their mother who had cheated on him. As they prayed, their father floored the car, driving them all to their deaths. But the timeline repeats. Gideon dies again and again, the same tragic way. Every loop feels like déjà vu. However, one time, Gideon senses what's going to happen. This time, he changes the story. He doesn't let fate play out as it always does. He grabs a knife and sneaks into his father's room while he sleeps. He stabs his father repeatedly, washing the blood off his hands and running as far away as possible. Yet, despite his attempts to change things, Gideon ends up alone and broken, committing suicide each time, reliving the same cycle over and over. Gideon calls it recurrence. His friend Ravi doesn't believe him, but Lucy starts to understand. Every time Gideon dies, he can remember what happened in past lives. And this knowledge helps him bet on sports games, making money and never needing to worry about finances. He also saves a family from a car crash by slashing their tires to stop them from driving into danger. Each time, Gideon believes he's doing the right thing, saving lives where he can, but his efforts only lead to more complicated events. The fly-tipping dump they saw before? Gideon stopped it from causing massive fires, saving homes and lives in the process. There's also Harold Slade. Gideon had intended to turn him in to the authorities, but after finding disturbing images on Harold's computer, he decided the man had to die. Gideon doesn't feel guilt, though. He believes it's necessary. The strange thing is that he writes everything down. His memories, all his experiences, he writes them down in a notebook, not because he can bring them into his new life, but because he needs to remember them. Every life is like a song to him, and the notes he writes are the lyrics. When Ravi questions his handwriting, Gideon points out that there's one key thing he's written down in the notebook that Ravi should check. It's a note that says, "Is this better, detective?" The meaning is clear. Gideon has changed things, and one of his biggest changes was protecting Jonah Taylor, a boy whose parents wanted to kill him. Instead of letting Jonah die, Gideon hid him, ensuring the boy's safety. But saving people isn't always easy. When Gideon saved Evelyn, a girl from a car crash, she started to see strange things. shadows, ghosts, things she couldn't explain. These changes, these ripples, disturbed her, driving her mad. Still, Gideon helped her adjust, teaching her how to live with the chaos of these repeated lives. In one life, Gideon intervened to save a pregnant woman from being stabbed by Aiden. He made sure Aiden never hurt her. But when Nick jumped in, things began to spiral out of control. Then there's Connor Larson, a man Gideon tortured for the horrific crimes he committed. Connor had raped 5 women in a past life, and Gideon decided to experiment on him, hoping to change his ways. But Ravi isn't convinced that Gideon's actions were justified. Gideon doesn't care. He's trying to make Lucy understand the deeper truth. He wants to know, what's the worst thing Lucy has ever experienced? Lucy's past is tangled in tragedy too. As a child, she witnessed her mother, Sylvia, attempting suicide. But Gideon changed that. He stopped Sylvia from killing herself by removing the firing pin from the shotgun. When Sylvia pulled the trigger, it didn't go off, giving Lucy a second chance at life. But in doing so, Sylvia lost her grip on reality. She couldn't find her way back, and she struggled, lost in the tracks of her own life. Lucy finally starts to understand Gideon. She locks Ravi outside the interrogation room, ready to confront the truth. There's a promise they made long ago, a promise that Gideon is determined to keep. Lucy isn't the same person she once was. Isaac, their son, isn't supposed to be here. He's an anomaly, someone who doesn't belong in this timeline. Gideon explains to Lucy that the lives they lead are like tracks in the snow. Every action they take creates ripples, and sometimes those ripples cause chaos. Time isn't linear. They're stuck in loops, lives happening simultaneously. Lucy has glimpses of past lives, echoes of the loops. But Isaac isn't like the others. He's a husk, an emotionless being who doesn't belong. His existence disturbs the loop. When Isaac loses his balance, he slips from one life to another, crossing between worlds. Mike, Isaac's father, doesn't understand Isaac. He blames him for the destruction in his life, pouring beer on his son's head. Isaac, however, seems numb, emotionless. He's never felt truly alive. Gideon sees it. Isaac is a shell, a creation of a broken timeline. One night, Mike heads into Isaac's room and notices a fire starting. Instead of helping his son, Mike shuts the door, leaving Isaac to face the flames alone. Lucy receives a voicemail from Isaac, telling her that Mike destroyed him, that he's cold because of his father, and that he still loves her. But by the time she reaches home, it's too late. The house is burning, and she finds Mike outside, in shock. Isaac is gone. He's slipped through the cracks in the timeline, lost forever. Desperate, Lucy rushes into the burning house, hoping to find her son. She doesn't make it. The flames claim her, and she dies right there in the fire. But as she fades, she sees flashes of another life, another timeline. She's working as a detective, investigating a fire at the Warren house, not her own. She begins to understand. Her death wasn't the end. It was just another loop, another track in the snow. The past and the future blur together. Déjà vu, she whispers. It's all part of the cycle. The story isn't over. It never truly ends. Life keeps looping, and Gideon keeps trying to change it. He won't give up. But will anyone else ever escape the cycle? And to enter a new cycle of fresh movie recaps, I recommend you click on my playlist on the right next. Subscribe and like the video to return for future recaps. As always, I will see you next Saturday for the best movie event in town, my friend.